The movie started with Chu Xia visiting her fiancé's grave to say goodbye. She remembered his promise that he'd return after a business trip overseas to prepare for their wedding. But he didn't keep his promise, turning her, a bride who was once admired, into a pitiful widow in an instant. Chu Xia painfully looked at her lover's face one last time, blaming herself. Even though she was heartbroken, she couldn't forget him. Before leaving, Chu Xia kissed her husband goodbye. Unexpectedly, when she turned around, she saw Jing Xing, her husband, standing right in front of her. After a moment of shock, Jing Xing rushed over and kissed her passionately, sweet kisses that she didn't want to wake up from. When she woke up, Hui Jin told Chu Xia that she had fainted at the hall the day before. Chu Xia still didn't believe that what happened was just a dream. Hui Jin had booked a cruise, wanting her to go on a trip to relax. After traveling around the world for 6 months, Chu Xia returned, but her heartbreak hadn't healed. She decided to face it. Feeling lost, she went home and collapsed on the sofa. Hearing a voice, Chu Xia saw Jing Xing in front of her. She thought she was hallucinating again. After researching online, she thought she had schizophrenia. Confused, she got close to him, asking if she was seriously ill. The man was about to leave when Chu Xia quickly hugged him, saying loving words meant for her late husband. Just then, the man's sister appeared. Chu Xia then learned the truth. He was her younger brother, named Nanbai. She was stunned because he looked exactly like her late husband. This made Chu Xia's head spin, and she started a journey to investigate his identity. From round 1 to round 3, she tried all his weaknesses, but failed. Finally, the only accurate way left was to do a DNA test. After getting hair from her ex-boyfriend's clothes, Chu Xia started approaching Nanbai. At first, she tried to seduce him with a massage, but ended up making him unhappy. Chu Xia wanted to blow-dry his hair to make up for it, but unexpectedly fell flat on her face. An embarrassing moment appeared before her eyes. Just then, Nanbai's sister walked in. What Chu Xia did made Nanbai angry. Before his sister's question, Chu Xia quickly lied and snuck away. That night, Nanbai started his first plan. The goal of the two siblings was to overthrow Hu Shi and reclaim the shares that belonged to them. Using his skills, Nanbai quickly had the opportunity to take the phone of Chu Xia's father's secretary. He wanted to find out Hu Shi's assets to use a higher price to prevent Hu Shi from bidding successfully, stealing their biggest project. But he worried the plan wouldn't go smoothly since Chu Xia, the boss of Hu Shi Group, had returned. After looking at the info on the secretary's phone, Nanbai found out the bidding documents weren't at the company, but in Chu Xia's dad's office. He asked his sister to find a way to get the key. That night, Enai Chi gave the key to Nanbai. Right when they were discussing the plan to take over Hu Shi, the lights turned on. It was Chu Xia. Just as Chu Xia was about to find something to eat, Nanbai saw the key was about to be exposed, so he pulled a move using his charm. Chu Xia was caught off guard, totally stunned. After Enai Chi left, Chu Xia wondered what Nanbai was up to. At this point, he told her about what happened at the funeral. He said he clearly rushed over and kissed Chu Xia, but now she was saying she rushed to kiss him. Chu Xia misunderstood and thought that because she missed her ex-boyfriend too much, she had forced a kiss on him. She was embarrassed and quietly left. Today was Chu Xia's birthday. Hui Jin didn't forget and even sang happy birthday to her himself. Chu Xia was very happy, and they both shared their feelings and watched shooting stars together. Hui Jin gave Chu Xia a bracelet engraved with her initials. Chu Xia was grateful for his kindness. After talking with Hui Jin, Chu Xia returned home and ran into Nanbai. He used his status as her uncle to advise his niece not to stay out late. Chu Xia looked unhappy, but still remained polite in the face of his lecture. Nanbai knew it was her birthday, so he wanted to get her drunk to get the bidding contract of Hu Shi. After getting drunk, Chu Xia mistook Nanbai for her boyfriend Jing Xing, constantly saying words of longing for her late husband. Even worse, she snuggled up to him, her hands uncontrollably touching him all over the place. Nanbai couldn't take it anymore and finally spoke up to remind her. Unexpectedly, Chu Xia in her drunken state wanted it. But unfortunately, before she could do anything, she fell asleep. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Nanbai hurriedly acted according to the plan, photographing all the bidding contracts of Hu Shi. Just as he was leaving the room, Chu Xia in her drunken state was standing in front of him. Seeing him hiding something behind his back, she kept trying to grab it. Faced with her attack, Nanbai had to tell the truth, that he was Jing Xing. After a moment of shock, Chu Xia rushed over and hugged him, crying and expressing her longing. He could only comfort her. And the reason why Jing Xing had to switch identities would be revealed later. Because right now, Chu Xia had rushed over and was kissing him repeatedly. Jing Xing kept refusing, but then reciprocated. They fell into each other's arms from outside the door all the way to the bedroom. The feelings that had been suppressed for so long finally exploded. At the height of it all, Chu Xia fell asleep from the alcohol. Looking at the girl he loved, Jing Xing wondered why he couldn't stop being moved even though he knew she was the daughter of his enemy. The next morning, Chu Xia woke up, kissed him, and then immediately kicked him off the bed, saying, "Nan Bai, you're old and not being proper," leaving Jing Xing stunned. Chu Xia woke up and forgot everything that happened last night, constantly apologizing and hoping he'd forgive her excessive actions. Nan Bai showed her the marks she had left on his body, which made Chu Xia remember her ex-boyfriend. She used to do the same thing to him. That day, Chu Xia received the DNA test results. At this point, her past memories came flooding back. That day, Chu Xia wore a beautiful wedding dress, excited to become his bride. That's when she received terrible news. Her fiancé, Jing Xing, was involved in a brawl and had been shot dead. This news was a bolt from the blue. Even now, Chu Xia didn't want to believe it was true, which is why she suspected her uncle, Nan Bai, might be her late husband. She nervously opened her phone to check, but the results disappointed her. They weren't the same person. Sad, Chu Xia went to a bar. In her drunken state, she asked the bartender for 5 skewers, the kind her boyfriend liked the most. When the bartender said the person at the next table had bought them all, Chu Xia staggered over to Nan Bai's table and grabbed the last skewer from him. Nan Bai was speechless. For many unclear reasons, Jing Xing, in the guise of Nan Bai, was always by her side, protecting her. He beat up the thugs who were trying to harass the woman he loved. After a long period of avoiding reality, Chu Xia officially returned to the company. Looking at Chu Xia after she got dressed up, Nan Bai secretly complimented her, thinking this girl actually looked pretty good after putting on makeup. Chu Xia told her uncle that she had a date, but the next second she turned around and hugged his waist, telling herself that this was a goodbye hug to Jing Xing. Seeing the awkward look on Nan Bai's face, she quickly explained that it was a friendly greeting from Westerners. She just wanted to try it out, and then hurriedly left, making Nan Bai think to himself, she's still as crazy as ever. Ni Chi went to massage Chu Xia's dad. He complained about the failed bidding, unaware that the person close to him was plotting to betray him and steal his important project. Ni Chi also discovered that he was making a will. She told Nan Bai, and they guessed that he would give the shares to his daughter Ru Yi, who was Chu Xia, the biological daughter he had just found. Ni Chi was angry, searching from home to the company, but couldn't find the will. At this time, Nan Bai made an agreement, wanting his sister to get him into the Wan Mao Company, and he would help her find the will. Wan Mao Company is a subsidiary of Hu Shi Group, currently managed by Chu Xia. According to the agreement, Nan Bai proceeded to search for the will. He entered Chu Xia's office. As he was looking for clues, Chu Xia walked in. Seeing him, the image of Jing Xing kept flashing in her mind. Gathering her wits, Chu Xia asked him what he was doing in her room. He said he wanted to see what kind of person Jing Xing was that she would say he looked like him. Chu Xia quickly praised her boyfriend, saying her uncle was far behind. Taking this opportunity, Nan Bai launched an attack, saying he didn't want to be a replacement. The two of them exchanged words, and his goal was finally achieved, getting her fingerprint. That night, he sneaked in, opened the safe, and got a copy of the will. Ni Chi was furious after finding out that all the assets were left to Chu Xia and not her. All these years, she had agreed to be by his side, even though he was old enough to be her father, yet he didn't leave her anything. Immediately afterwards, Ni Chi told her younger brother to move out and started her plan of counterattack. Soon after, Chu Xia's dad was taken to the hospital. Chu Xia stayed by his side to take care of him. Remembering the doctor's words, Chu Xia was extremely worried, as there was a possibility that her dad wouldn't make it. Thinking of the loved ones beside her leaving her one by one, Chu Xia had to comfort herself, hoping that all the troubles would pass. At this time, Ni Chi was overjoyed at her victory. She held a party at her younger brother's new house to celebrate, and also told him about Chu Xia's family, thinking that her dad wouldn't make it, and sooner or later the assets of the Chu family would belong to her. We found out that Chu Xia was taking care of her dad at the hospital. Nan Bai went to visit. He quickly took off his coat to make a blanket and carefully adjusted his loved one's sleeping position to make her comfortable. As he was admiring her, someone came to find Chu Xia. After finding out that Chu Xia was currently very busy designing a new product and also taking care of her seriously ill dad, but that she was still very resilient. He looked at the girl he loved, who was also the daughter of his enemy. His heart felt a bit conflicted, but he didn't want to lie to himself anymore and decided to protect the woman he loved from now on. After a good night's sleep, Chuxia woke up and saw a message from her uncle telling her to meet him downstairs. Chuxia saw him from afar, holding a pot of dandelion flowers. She couldn't help but be surprised by his outfit. As she got closer, he even tricked her, saying there was a snake, which scared Chuxia out of her wits. Wanting to make the woman he loved happy, Nanbai deliberately made her laugh and even gave her the dandelion flowers. Afterwards, Nanbai even deliberately put on a show so that Chuxia could blow the dandelion seeds away herself. Chuxia was happy to know that her uncle had come to comfort her on purpose, but he still stubbornly lied, saying, "I heard that after blowing dandelions, your worries will fly away with the wind. I don't know if it's true, so I wanted you to be a guinea pig to try it out." Even though Nanbai deliberately lied, Chuxia still thanked him for his kindness. Afterwards, she confided that she had been very frustrated with the company lately, with the revenue not being effective. But thanks to his sincere encouragement, Chuxia immediately regained her spirits and decided to return to the company to work. That night, Chuxia's dad woke up, and she happily told Ni-Chi, who pretended to be happy but cursed him as soon as she hung up. Chuxia was told by her subordinate that Louis helped the bracelet design sell well, and she felt that Louis's advertising and sales skills were truly legendary. If she could invite him to be the brand ambassador, her beloved sugar honey product would have an extremely excellent transformation. Hearing her staff say that he was difficult to approach, Chuxia didn't give up. She didn't know that the Louis she was looking for was right in front of her. Nanbai received a message from Chuxia, and he smirked, thinking, "If I agree with her too easily, my value will drop." So he used an anonymous account to message Chuxia, telling her that Louis was in the Tanhuang neighborhood, and even describing Louis as very handsome and extremely well-dressed. After texting, he contentedly sipped his coffee, thinking that even if she was stupid, she would realize that Louis was him. As expected, Chuxia was present early in the morning in the Tanhuang neighborhood, but she couldn't get in because the security was too strict. Just then, Nanbai ran past, and after calling out for a while, he came over to her. Knowing that Nanbai lived there, she asked him to take her in, but at this time, he didn't want to acknowledge this affection. Before Chuxia's pleading and calling uncle, Nanbai finally took her inside. Chuxia immediately asked her uncle if he knew a famous internet personality named Louis in this area, and if he had ever met him. Seeing that her uncle didn't seem to care about external affairs, Chuxia began to beg her uncle to let her move in temporarily, so she didn't have to travel back and forth, because she was determined to meet Louis. Nanbai refused to let his niece live with him. He didn't want anyone else to affect his life. Even though Chuxia said she would follow all his requests and would agree to be seen as heir, she still couldn't convince him. So Chuxia used a low tactic. Faced with Chuxia's constant nagging, Nanbai was afraid of being laughed at by others, so he finally agreed to let his non-blood-related niece stay with him. Seeing the beautiful room before her, Chuxia kept praising it. Unexpectedly, Nanbai made a request. Everything here had to follow his aesthetic and style. Hearing this, Chuxia asked him, "From now on, when I'm in your house, do I have to listen to you about what color clothes to wear and what color to tie my hair?" Nanbai immediately pushed her against the wall, saying, "If you want that, I'll indulge you," and he started to act, which made Chuxia quickly stop him. Pushing him away, Nanbai said, "It's best if you're like that, otherwise move out of here." Seeing that he didn't want her to stay, Chuxia quickly jumped into bed, saying that she would take root here until she met Louis. Soon after, Nanbai's sister also came. Seeing this, Chuxia went out for a walk so the two siblings could talk to each other. Seeing his sister looking at him, Nanbai said that he revealed the address to her and then recounted his plan. He wanted to use Louis's identity to establish a cooperative relationship with Chuxia. His sister said that Louis's motto has always been not to cooperate commercially. Nanbai said that he was currently making her spend a lot of effort to establish a relationship with Louis, so that she wouldn't suspect him later. He told his sister to trust him. Afterwards, Ni-Chi also asked about the new door password that he had changed, but Nanbai didn't want her to enter and leave his house freely. He said that he was no longer a child and couldn't forget the house password. At this time, Chuxia was standing next to the trash can, thinking that the trash can was the easiest place to reveal secrets. Acting on her thoughts, she didn't care about herself and plunged into the trash can, hoping to find clues about Louis. Nanbai witnessed this moment and couldn't believe it, so he stepped forward to stop her. Chu Xia then explained that Louis lived abroad, so there must be shipping information. As long as she found that information, she would trace Louis's whereabouts. Nanbai couldn't stand his niece, so he picked her up and carried her home. Just then, in the distance, a paparazzi was taking pictures of the two of them. As soon as they entered the house, Nanbai personally washed his niece's hands. The close and caring emotions of the uncle were exactly like her deceased boyfriend, and an indescribable feeling rose in Chu Xia's heart. Seeing that he didn't stop, Chu Xia had to speak up. "If you scrub any more, my hands will fall apart." Immediately afterwards, Nanbai picked her up on the pedestal, gently drying her hands with a towel. Chu Xia praised him for being so skilled, and Nanbai said that the hands were the second face of a girl, and then criticized her hand for being rough. Chu Xia was upset, saying that her hands were working all day long, and probably couldn't compare to the girls next to him. After speaking, she angrily left, but Nanbai grabbed her hand and immediately pressed her against the wall. The two of them looked at each other, and then he said the meaningful words in his heart, "I don't treat everyone like this, only when I'm interested." After speaking, he left, leaving Chu Xia with a mess in her heart. Chu Xia blamed herself. Why did she have feelings for such a flirtatious man? Returning to his room, Nanbai thought, "I have to find a way to make her realize that I'm Louis quickly." So, instantly, Chu Xia ran to find him, announcing that Louis had updated social media, and that Louis's location was in the same building as her uncle. Excited to be about to find a clue, she quickly ran to ask the neighbors, which made Nanbai shake his head, wondering if she was too stupid. About 10 minutes later, Chu Xia returned with a sad face because the upper and lower floors were not where Louis lived. Nanbai was also helpless. Immediately afterwards, he updated social media in a more obvious way, but the silly girl still didn't have any doubts about him. Soon after, Hui Jin, following the address Chu Xia gave him, knocked on Nanbai's door. The moment he saw Nanbai, he was very surprised because Nanbai looked too much like the deceased Jing Xing. Soon after, Chu Xia appeared and introduced the two men to each other. The two men shook hands, but internally they were secretly jealous, so all their strength was put into that handshake that wouldn't let go, which made Chu Xia unable to remain silent anymore and had to speak up to separate the two. Chu Xia, to thank Hui Jin, invited him to dinner. The two of them were about to go out to eat, but Nanbai said to eat at home, and he volunteered to cook. So, while cooking, Nanbai deliberately wanted to separate the two, constantly asking her to help him, while everything was always right next to him. After the two men went into the kitchen, the food was also prepared, but unfortunately, the portion that Nanbai gave to Hui Jin was pitiful. Chu Xia saw this, and quickly shared her portion with him, causing Nanbai to look at them with extremely jealous eyes. Before saying goodbye, Hui Jin worried about Chu Xia, not wanting her to live with Nanbai. He had a feeling of insecurity, but Chu Xia said that her uncle looked like that on the outside, but he was very good on the inside. Besides, she needed to meet Louis, otherwise the company's sales wouldn't be saved. Hui Jin had to support her. As soon as Chu Xia left, he called his people to investigate the information about Nanbai. As soon as Chu Xia entered the house, her uncle retaliated by making his niece a glass of lemonade. But as soon as Chu Xia took a sip, she couldn't stand it because it was too sour. The female lead, not wanting to compete with him anymore, left, but was pulled by the hand by Nanbai and pressed against the table. The two looked each other in the eyes, and immediately after, Nanbai came forward to kiss her. Chu Xia was caught off guard by the kiss, but didn't react. Nanbai looked in her eyes and then kissed her again. This time, Chu Xia stopped him, asking him why he was doing this. Nanbai was immediately flustered, saying that the atmosphere just now was very suitable for kissing, and he thought that the two of them were thinking the same thing. When he heard Chu Xia deny it, Nanbai turned around and left. Chu Xia was emotionally confused, blaming herself for having feelings since he wasn't Jing Xing. Before she could stabilize her emotions, Nanbai turned back, giving her a request to not bring anyone back here in the future. Chu Xia protested, and he said that this was his house, and if she didn't listen, she should move out. Chu Xia angrily transferred back 50% of the rent, saying that she could bring anyone she wanted in the future. Although Nanbai didn't agree, she ignored him. Just then, Chu Xia saw the statue that was exactly like the one Louis posted on social media. Nanbai suggested, saying that this statue was unique, thinking that she would recognize that Louis was him. Unexpectedly, she said, "This is a fake," which left Nanbai speechless. He had to leave, leaving Chu Xia alone babbling about cooperating with Louis. Seeing that Chu Xia still didn't have a chance to meet Louis, Hui Jin suggested that there would be an anniversary celebration coming up. If they held a costume party, there was a chance they could invite him because Louis didn't want to reveal his identity. The two felt that this idea was great and proceeded with the plan. That night, Chu Xia kept trying on beautiful outfits preparing for the social event, and Nanbai was the judge. Every outfit she wore was beautiful, but Nanbai didn't want the woman he loved to dress too revealingly, so he rejected them one after another. Finally, he stopped with a seductive red dress. That night, in a dream, Chu Xia was lost in a very beautiful setting, and then saw Nanbai approaching her. In a romantic setting, Nanbai was about to give her a sweet kiss, but Chu Xia stopped him, saying that he was her uncle. Nanbai then spoke up. "Why didn't you think I was your uncle when you kissed me?" Chu Xia couldn't answer Nanbai's question. The two immediately fell into sweet kisses. Both were very happy to be together. At the height of it all, Chu Xia fell off the bed. At this point, Chu Xia realized it was just a dream, but the dream was so real that she felt both embarrassed and wished it were true. Finally, the night of the party arrived. Chu Xia carefully adjusted her appearance, and Hui Jin even helped her choose lipstick and personally applied makeup for the person in his heart. At the party, Nanbai appeared with a mask. Chu Xia's people were very surprised to know that Louis had arrived. Immediately afterwards, the girl told Chu Xia this news, describing Louis wearing a silver mask. So Chu Xia and Hui Jin began to search for the target. Just as Nanbai was chatting with his sister and Ai Chi, Hui Jin came over. He heard the story of the two and also learned that Nanbai was Louis. Hui Jin then interfered, calling his people to have a few people dressed up as Louis appear at the party, determined not to let Nanbai's goal succeed. So Chu Xia found a target as described, but there were many guys wearing silver masks. Just as Chu Xia was thinking about how to approach the right target, the target appeared. Nanbai saw Chu Xia coming towards him. He was curious how Chu Xia would feel if she knew that he was Louis. But his curiosity was not answered because Chu Xia was walking into the middle of the stage. She believed that the song prepared for this costume party would help the real Louis appear. So Chu Xia immersed herself in the song with very charming and beautiful dances. Just when she was worried that Louis wouldn't appear, a hand touched her hand. The two made eye contact and then combined to complete the dance in the most perfect way. While dancing, Chu Xia looked at him, and the image of her ex-boyfriend appeared again. Chu Xia confided to him about her deceased boyfriend. The day she thought was the happiest was also the day she no longer had the opportunity to see him again. Nanbai comforted her, telling her to forget the past and live well for the present. But Chu Xia said she couldn't do it. Everything about him always came back in her mind, making her feel suffocated. Seeing his necklace from before, along with Chu Xia's revelations, Nanbai couldn't restrain himself and left. When Nanbai walked away, she shouted, "Jing Xing." At this time, Hui Jin also appeared. Chu Xia said that she saw Jing Xing, but he said that the dead couldn't come back to life, and comforted Chu Xia with a few words. Returning home, his sister scolded him because his appearance today would definitely be a hot topic on social media tomorrow. His sister added, "There's no possibility between you two." Nanbai didn't say anything and quietly returned home. Soon after, Hui Jin contacted his sister. It turned out that the person behind everything was the scoundrel Hui Jin. He even threatened, "If you don't handle everything and ruin my plan, then all of you will die together." The next day, Chu Xia was tired and rested at home. While admiring a handsome guy in a magazine, Nanbai interrupted, covering the person in the photo. He subtly encouraged her to pay more attention to the people around her. Chu Xia was silly and didn't understand much, so she looked around. Seeing this, he said, "That person is far away but close at hand." Even so, she didn't pay any attention to him. He hurriedly chased her away because she had work to do. She was looking for a new partner. When he found out that Chu Xia gave up on trying to get Louis to cooperate, Nanbai suddenly became angry. Chu Xia, seeing his excessive reaction to her affairs, was sarcastic. Immediately afterwards, the two chased each other like children in the house. That night, Chu Xia had severe stomach pains. Nanbai was going to take her to the hospital, but even though she was in pain, Chu Xia didn't forget to put on makeup before going out. Seeing this, he had to pick her up and take her away. It turned out that she had hemorrhoids. Just when the doctor told Chu Xia to agree with her family to sign the surgical consent form, Chu Xia didn't know where to hide her face. When she asked Nanbai to sign it, before she could ask, Nanbai had already entered and signed the confirmation for her. In the days that followed, she kept avoiding Nan Bai. He couldn't remove the blanket covering her, so he announced that he would sit and wait here to see how long she could stay in there. Chu Xia angrily rushed over to attack him. While the two were fighting, they accidentally created an embarrassing situation. Just then, a nurse walked in. Seeing that they misunderstood, Chu Xia quickly explained that they weren't lovers. Hearing this, the nurse took the opportunity to flirt. Nan Bai also wanted to see how Chu Xia would react, so he turned on the charm. Chu Xia then spoke up, saying that her uncle was over 50 years old and had been divorced twice, causing the nurse to turn around and leave. Nan Bai then came over and asked the reason. Why was she preventing him from flirting with women? Chu Xia made up a few excuses and ran away. Going to the bathroom, she asked herself why she was angry and why she was jealous. Afterwards, she calmed her emotions, thinking that it was due to the anesthesia that her mind was not clear and that she had mistaken her ex-boyfriend for this non-blood-related uncle. After she came out, the two argued again. Nan Bai thought that he was her uncle anyway, so he gave her a lot of advice. The two argued. Nan Bai talked about her hemorrhoids, and Chu Xia quickly covered his mouth, forbidding him to tell anyone about her affairs. Just then, Hui Jin in disguise also appeared. Chu Xia, seeing the awkward situation, said that she was checking her uncle's teeth, and that he said he had a toothache. Immediately afterwards, Chu Xia, because she didn't want Hui Jin to know about her condition, intentionally hid it, but Nan Bai wanted to tease her, always half-openly. But before Chu Xia's winking eyes, Nan Bai obediently followed along. After talking for a while, Chu Xia wanted to politely send Hui Jin away, saying that she had something to talk about privately with her uncle, and asked to be excused first. After speaking, the two let each other out. At the elevator, while the two men were trying to compete, Chu Xia felt uncomfortable. Seeing Hui Jin ask, she told him not to touch her. The two men argued over this. It was Nan Bai's turn to support her shoulder. Chu Xia really couldn't hold back anymore and farted. Seeing this, Hui Jin quickly raised his hand to admit his mistake. The matter didn't stop there. She dropped another bomb. The two men argued about taking responsibility, causing Chu Xia to be too ashamed to hide her face. Even so, the two of them weren't giving up. In their hearts, they were always hoping she would drop another bomb, so they would both have a chance to compete for her affection. Chu Xia had no other choice but to kick the two men out of the elevator. After being kicked out by Chu Xia, the two handsome guys immediately started questioning each other. After some probing, they both realized they shared the same goal, to win Chu Xia's heart. The next morning, as soon as Chu Xia and Nan Bai got to the office, they received a report that a rival company had stolen the design for their new product. Faced with this situation, Chu Xia immediately stopped production and requested an investigation of the security camera footage. However, when the staff brought the USB drive containing the videos, Chu Xia realized there were just too many videos to review. Seeing Nan Bai was free, she started acting cute and asked him for help. Unexpectedly, this guy pretended to be indifferent, acting like it wasn't his problem. Knowing that Nan Bai was the only person she truly trusted in the company at this moment, Chu Xia gave him a kiss, considering it a plea for help. Unexpectedly, Nan Bai started being argumentative, claiming that Chu Xia wanted to kiss him all along. Knowing he was right, Chu Xia still quickly denied it, even telling him to consider it an accident. Hearing this, Nan Bai pulled her back in, returned the kiss, and said, "Consider it compensation." Having kissed the person he liked, Nan Bai's mood lifted considerably, and he agreed to help Chu Xia review the security camera footage. While working, they kept stealing glances at each other, feeling shy and affectionate. At this rate, who knows when they would finish watching all the camera footage. Time flew by, and before they knew it, it was already dark. They were both sleepy, but still hadn't found any leads. To get their energy back, Chu Xia suggested they do something fun together. She moved closer to him, making Nan Bai think she was going to kiss him, but instead, he got a light tap on the head. Next, she told him to do the same to her, but Nan Bai couldn't bring himself to do it. He just quietly looked at her. He moved in to give her a light kiss on the lips, but just then, Chu Xia opened her eyes. She hurriedly said she was awake, but inside, she felt confused, her heart pounding. She made an excuse to leave, but Nan Bai pulled her back because he had just discovered a video clip that had been edited. They both understood that the suspect had deleted an important section. That evening, the two strolled around the city together. Chu Xia blamed herself because, since she took over Wan Mao, the company had been losing money. She felt she had no business acumen and wanted to give up. In her sadness, she remembered her ex-boyfriend, Jing Xing, and wished he was by her side at this moment. Hearing this, Nanbai immediately pulled Chu Xia into his arms, giving her a minute to see him as her ex-boyfriend. In that moment, he comforted her, encouraged her, and affirmed that he would always support her and stand by her side. Chu Xia was moved, sobbing in his arms. After calming down, Chu Xia told Nanbai that she wouldn't give up. She thanked him and noticed the special button on his cuff. Nanbai explained that the button was made using traditional craftsmanship. This reminded Chu Xia of her ex-boyfriend's glass dog, which was also handmade. Finally, Chu Xia found a new direction for her own product. Seeing Chu Xia happy, Nanbai also felt relieved. To help Chu Xia find the person who stole the design, Nanbai, using the identity of Lewis, contacted Lu Corporation. Initially, Mr. Lu thought Lewis wanted to collaborate, but then Nanbai exposed Lu Corporation's theft of Wan Mao's design. Mr. Lu tried to deny it, but Nanbai had evidence of his embezzlement to run his own business. Cornered, Mr. Lu had to comply with Nanbai's request. That night, the design thief sneaked into the office. She saw that the original file had been deleted, while her boss, Mr. Lu, had said it hadn't been deleted, which made her extremely confused. At this moment, the lights turned on, and Chu Xia caught the thief red-handed. It turned out that Nanbai had told Chu Xia about the conversation with Mr. Lu. Chu Xia looked at Nanbai with surprise, not expecting that this playboy uncle knew people from the upper classes. After a few hints from Nanbai, Chu Xia thought for a moment, and then slammed her hand on the table, saying she knew who it was, making Nanbai secretly happy, thinking she had realized that he was Lewis. Unexpectedly, Chu Xia then said, "He's a gigolo," leaving Nanbai speechless. The two immediately coordinated, set a trap, and caught the design thief red-handed. Even though she was caught in the act, the girl stubbornly denied the crime, even challenging Chu Xia to sue her because she believed that the camera footage in the original file had been completely deleted. At this moment, Hui Jin appeared and gave Chu Xia the lost video, which he had recovered. The girl immediately changed her attitude, appearing pitiful and constantly apologizing. However, Chu Xia didn't forgive her, deciding to fire her and sue her according to the law. Chu Xia thanked Hui Jin for always helping her. Hui Jin's next words stirred up jealousy in Nanbai. Back at home, Nanbai was still bothered by Hui Jin, and Chu Xia constantly mentioning him only made him more annoyed. Nanbai stepped in front of Chu Xia and questioned her, "Just me helping you should be enough? Why did you have to find Hui Jin? One minute you say you only trust me, the next you turn around and tell another man that you only trust him. I feel betrayed. I'm extremely angry." Seeing this, Chu Xia quickly apologized and tried to appease Nanbai. While internally questioning why he was acting this way, Nanbai suddenly leaned in and snatched the piece of cake Chu Xia was about to put in her mouth. He left, leaving Chu Xia with an awkward smile. The next day, the two went to the home of a master of traditional craftsmanship. Chu Xia tried hard to persuade him, but couldn't sway the old man. Just as he was closing the door, no longer wanting to receive guests, Nanbai put his hand in to stop the door, injuring his hand. Seeing Chu Xia's concern for him, he asked, "Are you feeling bad for me?" The two looked at each other for a moment, then Mr. Zhang also came over. Chu Xia was about to continue to persuade him to cooperate, but Mr. Zhang interrupted and asked them to leave. Chu Xia quickly said, "It's about to rain," signaling Nanbai to join in on the act. Nanbai then said that his hand still hurt, hoping Mr. Zhang would let them stay for the night. Finally, Mr. Zhang agreed. Chu Xia asked for 2 rooms, but Mr. Zhang thought they were a couple, saying there was only 1 room left, and was about to ask them to leave again. Hearing this, the two had no choice but to role-play as a couple deeply in love. That night, the two looked at the stars together and discussed a plan to persuade Mr. Zhang to cooperate. They guessed the names of constellations together, and Nanbai took out his phone to look them up. The close proximity made Chu Xia's heart race. Unable to take it anymore, she made an excuse about being sleepy and scurried off first. Chu Xia told Nanbai to sleep on the sofa, and that he would be punished if he crossed the line. But Nanbai didn't care, directly climbing in a bed next to her. A fierce tug-of-war over the blanket ensued, and finally Chu Xia had to give in and let Nanbai share the bed. Late at night, seeing Chu Xia being bitten by mosquitoes, Nanbai volunteered to be bait so she could sleep peacefully. But when he saw Chu Xia lying asleep, he teased her. Chu Xia angrily scolded him, saying he was old and shouldn't be so immature. Just like that, the two teased each other and fell asleep without realizing it. Nanbai woke up first, seeing the person he loved lying next to him. He felt happy and gently kissed her forehead. Seeing Chu Xia about to wake up, he quickly pretended to be asleep. Chu Xia was startled when she saw their position, quickly changed positions, and then dove under the covers. Both of their hearts were racing because of the other. That morning, instead of leaving, the two looked for ways to approach Mr. Zhang again. The old man chased them away, but Chu Xia persisted in persuading him. Finally, Mr. Zhang set a condition. The two of them had to make a product exactly like the metal sample he gave them within 1 day. If they could do it, he would discuss cooperation. Nanbai thought this request was too difficult for two amateurs like them. But Mr. Zhang didn't change his mind. If they couldn't do it, then they shouldn't even think about talking about cooperation. Chu Xia decided to accept the challenge. The two started working on the task. After many hours of diligent, meticulous work, the product was finally finished, and the two smiled happily. However, Mr. Zhang's product required absolute precision and exquisiteness. Looking at their result, Mr. Zhang was not satisfied and refused to discuss cooperation. While Chu Xia and Nanbai were still blaming each other, Hui Jin appeared, talking with Mr. Zhang outside in the yard. Chu Xia was surprised by this coincidence. It turned out that Hui Jin had provided the offline network platform for the village, and Mr. Zhang was the representative. Mr. Zhang highly praised Hui Jin's work, while the two of them were bluntly chased away. As soon as Mr. Zhang left, Hui Jin invited Chu Xia to a nearby homestay that he had booked in advance to rest. Nanbai was about to refuse, but Chu Xia seemed excited. At the homestay, Nanbai was neatly dressed and looking for Chu Xia when he saw Hui Jin opening her room. He barged in and, seeing Chu Xia sipping beer, immediately questioned her, lecturing his niece that she shouldn't be alone and drinking with a man in a hotel room at night. Chu Xia then reminded him of the previous day when the two of them had also shared a room, causing Hui Jin to look at them with jealousy. Nanbai was speechless and had no choice but to make an excuse to join the two of them. At the table, the two men looked at each other with hostility. Under Chu Xia's encouragement, the three of them started the game. I have. You have not. Initially, Nanbai seemed reluctant to play this old game, but was then provoked into participating. Chu Xia's first question was about drinking 15 cans of beer, which all three had done. Hui Jin said he had liked the girl for 5 years, and Nanbai also put down a finger. Then he said he had slept in the same bed with Chu Xia, and Hui Jin also put down a finger. Chu Xia was surprised to learn that there was a time when Hui Jin was sick. Chu Xia took care of him, and then fell asleep on his shoulder. Just like that, the two men competed to tell stories about their time with Chu Xia. Chu Xia became more and more embarrassed, until Hui Jin said Chu Xia was once drunk. He carried her home, and then Chu Xia quickly stuffed a chicken drumstick into his mouth to stop him from continuing. This unfinished sentence made Nanbai extremely jealous. Hui Jin didn't say anything more and suggested stopping the game. However, Nanbai's jealousy still hadn't subsided. That night, in a drunken stupor, he knocked on Chu Xia's door. As soon as he entered the room, the first question he asked was about the time she was drunk and Hui Jin carried her home, and what happened after that. Chu Xia asked if he was jealous. Nanbai frankly admitted it, then put the handmade ring on Chu Xia's finger and said, "You're mine," and then kissed her. Chu Xia tried to push him away, but couldn't resist his pent-up emotions. Her posture of rejection gradually turned into acceptance, and the two forgot everything, immersing themselves in a moment of sublimation and happiness. Waking up the next morning, hearing his voice, Chu Xia was ashamed and burrowed under the covers. After calming down, she told Nanbai that what happened last night was just an accident. The two were about to talk when Hui Jin arrived. She quickly begged Nanbai to hide. At first, he refused, but in the end, he listened to her. Chu Xia went out to talk to Hui Jin for only a short while before Nanbai came out of the room, causing the smile on Hui Jin's face to disappear. Chu Xia quickly made up a story that the shower in Nanbai's room was broken, so he came here to take a shower. Seeing that neither of the men was willing to leave, Chu Xia had no choice but to leave first. The two men looked at each other provocatively. Hui Jin noticed the marks Chu Xia left on Nanbai's neck, and his heart burned even more. The next day, Chu Xia and Nanbai went to persuade Mr. Zhang again. Despite using every method possible, he still wouldn't budge. Chu Xia knew he was looking for a successor, so she proposed incorporating his craft products into the company's products as a form of promotion. That way, more people would know about it, and who knows, maybe someone would want to learn the craft. Just as Chu Xia said, soon after, apprentices came looking for him. It turned out that Lewis had posted a promotional video about the metal fiber weaving craft, so people wanted to come and learn more about the craft. While Chu Xia was still wondering about Lewis, Mr. Zhang agreed to cooperate, delighting the two of them. After Mr. Zhang left, Chu Xia reviewed Lewis's post and wondered why he had that photo. She recalled the time she had learned about Lewis before, and all the facts came to light. Finally, she realized that the uncle in front of her was the Lewis she had been looking for all along. Nanbai gently tapped her on the head and said, "I thought with your personality, you would never realize it in your entire life." Fortunately, she finally found out, and Chu Xia happily mentioned their previous collaboration, but Nanbai wouldn't accept going through the back door. He demanded that she show sincerity and a desire to cooperate. Chu Xia constantly affirmed that she was the most sincere and reliable partner, but Nanbai still rejected her, telling her to find a way to prove it. Therefore, the next day, Chu Xia followed Nanbai around. Seeing Nanbai ignoring her, Chu Xia yelled loudly, forcing him to stop. She made a heart symbol with her hands to show her willingness to cooperate. Just as the two were discussing the product, a young boy on a bicycle came speeding towards them. Seeing a milk carton nearby, Chu Xia was about to perform a hero rescues beauty act, but just as she rushed out, she thought of the new dress she had rented and hid behind Nanbai, letting him take the full impact of the milk carton splattering on him. Chu Xia quickly apologized and was about to wipe the stain off him, but her feet got tangled, causing her to fall into Nanbai's arms. He took the opportunity to kiss her on the forehead. Chu Xia was embarrassed, saying that it was just an accident, and that kissing on the forehead was like a Western greeting. Hearing this, Nanbai recreated various kiss greetings he had experienced when he was abroad. Each kiss made Chu Xia's heart race. Overwhelmed by emotions, she couldn't take it anymore. When the kiss was about to touch her lips, she quickly stopped him, saying she understood and found a way to leave. Back in her room, Chu Xia was completely preoccupied with thoughts of her uncle. To reassure herself, she deluded herself into believing that she was only moved because Nanbai resembled her ex-boyfriend. The next morning, as the two were preparing breakfast, the doorbell rang. Chu Xia went to open the door, and it was Hui Jin. To compete with Nanbai, he had moved into the apartment across from her, using the excuse that it was closer to the company. He also gave Chu Xia a potted plant that he cherished. The two talked for a long time, making Nanbai jealous, so he intentionally cut his hand. Chu Xia hurriedly went to find a bandage for him. While searching through the boxes in Nanbai's bedroom, he ran in to stop her. Chu Xia was surprised, but Nanbai said he had agreed to cooperate and pulled her out, not letting her find the bandage anymore. It turned out that in the box was the glass dog that Chu Xia often mentioned. Afraid of revealing the secret that he was Jing Xing, he stopped her. He recalled the accident years ago. It was Nai Chi who saved him, and it was also she who told him that Chu Xia's father was behind everything. Before that, the two had known each other when Chu Xia had not yet been welcomed into the Hu family and had not yet become Hu Ru Yi. When he found out, he was extremely heartbroken. Because he missed her so much, he secretly went back to visit, but learned that the poor girl had suddenly become a phoenix and also heard the news that her fiancé had suddenly died abroad. Therefore, Jing Xing disguised himself to see his beloved from afar. He quietly passed her by, secretly promising to find the culprit so he could return to her openly and honorably. After that, he asked Nai Chi to help him change his name and identity to her younger brother. At the funeral, to avoid suspicion, Nai Chi created a mannequin, making everyone believe that Jing Xing was truly dead. Thanks to this, Lu Nanbai had the opportunity to be reborn and begin searching for the truth. But because he missed his beloved so much, he couldn't stay hidden in the shadows forever, so he secretly went to see her at his own funeral. All the subsequent encounters were unplanned. Despite trying to avoid her, the woman he loved was always in front of him, making him unable to restrain his emotions. Forgive me for not being able to tell you the truth at this moment. After calming down, Nanbai went to Chu Xia's room. Seeing her sleeping soundly, he smiled happily. He walked closer, gazed at her, pulled the blanket up for her, and kissed her forehead as a good night wish before leaving. Unexpectedly, Chu Xia knew everything. When he turned away, she opened her eyes, her heart filled with many thoughts. The next day, Nanbai also had his men capture the man who had previously made fake documents and transactions with the perpetrator who framed him. Now, when Nanbai accused him, he denied everything, not admitting to forging the contract that caused him to be wrongfully convicted and hunted down abroad. Nanbai had to use a trick to get him to admit the truth. As expected, The man finally agreed to tell the truth. Nanbai made him write down the name and phone number of the person who had instructed him. Meanwhile, Chu Xia was enthusiastically discussing work with her subordinates, preparing a plan to cooperate with Lewis. Recalling the moment Lewis kissed her, Chu Xia smiled happily until her subordinates called her name, and she came out of her reverie. Nanbai, after obtaining the information, sneaked into Chu Xia's office to copy the company's project. At this moment, Chu Xia walked in. Hearing the noise, Nanbai was startled and saw Chu Xia looking suspiciously behind him. Nanbai conveniently grabbed his own photo from the photo frame and tore it into pieces. Seeing the photo of the person she loved most being torn apart, Chu Xia sadly questioned, "Why did you do that?" Nanbai then advised his niece to forget the things of the past, to admit the truth that Jing Xing was dead, and to open her heart to a new love. Hearing this, Chu Xia scolded her uncle for not understanding her at all, because for her, even if Jing Xing was dead, he was still the person she loved most. Chu Xia's heart was filled with disappointment in her uncle. She criticized him for being selfish, arrogant, lacking empathy, and completely the opposite of Jing Xing, the person she loved. After saying this, she kicked him out. Seeing Chu Xia's mood like that, Nanbai quickly took out the USB drive and left. In the evening, Hui Jin met Chu Xia. Seeing her distraught with red eyes, Hui Jin asked with concern. Chu Xia quickly lied and said that dust had gotten into her eyes. After chatting for a while, Hui Jin mentioned that he had prepared some food. Immediately afterwards, he suggested inviting Chu Xia to his house for dinner and to discuss the cooperation with Lewis. During the meal, Hui Jin constantly showed his concern for Chu Xia. She had always believed that Hui Jin was a good person and had never had any doubts about him. At this time, even though he knew that Lewis was Nanbai, Hui Jin still pretended to inquire Chu Xia about the cooperation with him. Chu Xia lied and said she had never met Lewis before, only contacted him by phone. She said Lewis was a difficult person to understand, difficult to approach, generally a difficult and mysterious person. While Chu Xia went to the bathroom, Hui Jin thought to himself that even at this point Chu Xia was still protecting Nanbai, helping him hide his identity. Just as he thought of Nanbai, he called. Hui Jin saw that it was him and hid Chu Xia's phone. Chu Xia came back and couldn't find her phone, so she asked. Hui Jin lied and said he saw it was out of battery, so he plugged it in to charge it for her in the living room. Chu Xia didn't suspect anything. The two continued to eat and drink. Because he had bad intentions, Hui Jin deliberately let Chu Xia drink alcohol. After a while of having fun, Chu Xia was tipsy, and her bad habits when drunk began to kick in. Looking at the statues in front of her, she cursed them, thinking that they were talking behind her back all day long. Her drunken appearance was quite adorable. While Chu Xia was dancing with fire at Hui Jin's house, Nanbai frantically called her. He was worried sick. As for Chu Xia, she fainted due to the alcohol and was carried by Hui Jin to be placed on the sofa. Nanbai called the company and learned that she was not there, but had gone with Hui Jin in the afternoon. He looked up and saw that his room was lit. Feeling uneasy, he hurried over there, and at this moment, the lustful nature within Hui Jin was about to erupt. Looking at the woman he had tried every way to conquer but failed, now appearing before him, he hurriedly unbuttoned his shirt and was about to commit a despicable act when he heard Nanbai's knocking outside. He ignored Nanbai's shouting and was still immersed in the thought that Chu Xia would belong to him. Fortunately, just as he was about to kiss Chu Xia, Nanbai broke down the door and burst in. Naturally, Hui Jin was immediately punched. The loud noise woke Chu Xia. Not understanding what was happening, she blamed her uncle unreasonably. Nanbai, in his anger, rebuked Hui Jin's actions, but that evil Hui Jin pretended to be the victim. Chu Xia once again wrongly scolded her uncle and then showed concern for the evil guy. Angered, Nanbai forcefully pulled her back home. At this time, Hui Jin, not achieving his goal, revealed his true colors. Back at home, Chu Xia was still angry about him tearing up her photo. Understanding this, Nanbai gave her a new photo. Just as she reached out to take it, he snatched it back, asking, "Do you like Jing Xing that much?" Faced with Chu Xia's affirmative answer, he said, "I can't erase your past, but your future can only be me." After saying this, he forcibly kissed her. Chu Xia constantly resisted. She didn't want a romantic relationship to develop between them. Before Chu Xia returned to her room, Nanbai thoughtfully prepared hangover medicine for the person he loved. Chu Xia showed resentment and returned to her room, but still didn't forget to snatch the photo from his hand. Little did Chu Xia know that for her sake, Jing Xing had to pose as he did before to retake the photo he had torn up. Chu Xia, having her ex-boyfriend's photo lessen her mood somewhat, she quickly put in the photo frame and admired her deceased boyfriend, unaware that he was still alive and well in front of her. The next evening, Chu Xia was holding her computer, planning to go to Hui Jin's house across the street to work. Knowing this, Nanbai wouldn't let her go. He reiterated that she had to abide by his rules. Hearing this, Chu Xia agreed to return to her room. Unexpectedly, Nanbai stopped her again. He walked around her once, then smilingly said, "The girl is dressed like an eggplant." This made Chu Xia annoyed, showing displeasure at being criticized like that. Unexpectedly, Nanbai then said, "Our Chu Xia is dressed like an eggplant, but she's very cute," making her smile happily. That night, in his sleep, Nanbai dreamed of what happened yesterday again. Thinking of how Chu Xia was almost defiled by Hui Jin, Nanbai couldn't sleep. At this point, he also realized that the evil guy was too dangerous, so he had to find a way to make sure this couldn't happen again. The next morning, Chu Xia was dozing off at Hui Jin's house. He asked her what happened last night. Chu Xia lied and said she was worried about work and couldn't sleep. While Hui Jin went to make coffee, Chu Xia recalled Nanbai's words and blamed herself for losing sleep just because of a sentence from him. She drank 2 cups of coffee to wake herself up. The two continued to discuss the cooperation with Louis. Hui Jin accidentally spilled coffee on Chu Xia's clothes and suggested that she wear his company's dress. Seeing Chu Xia in the alluring blue dress, Hui Jin kept thinking of a certain girl, thinking that Chu Xia would look exactly like her if she had short hair. From then on, he no longer paid attention to the work and just stared at her. Chu Xia called out to him several times before Hui Jin came to his senses. Nanbai's phone call interrupted the conversation. It turned out that after the incident last time, Nanbai had bought Chu Xia all kinds of self-defense equipment. He told her that no man in this world was trustworthy. Chu Xia laughed because the person she thought needed to be most wary of was him. Nanbai pushed her down on the sofa and questioned, "Haven't you developed a liking for me already? Why be wary?" Chu Xia retorted and told him to go somewhere else. Seeing that he wouldn't listen, she used the pepper spray as a test. Nanbai hugged his eyes and cried out. Chu Xia worriedly asked after him. He took the opportunity to accuse her of caring about him, making her resentful. Even so, Nanbai still patiently guided Chu Xia on how to use the self-defense equipment. The next day, Hui Jin brought a box of supplies to Chu Xia's house. While she went into the room to get something, Nanbai and Hui Jin decided to compete in push-ups. Chu Xia became the referee. The competition was intense from afternoon to evening, and they both stopped at 600 reps without a clear winner. They agreed on another competition. Before leaving, Chu Xia returned the dress to Hui Jin, even though he didn't want to accept it. She said the size was too small and probably wouldn't fit. Hui Jin shakily put on his glasses and staggered back home. Chu Xia watched him go, then turned to look at Nanbai. The image before her made her sigh in admiration. The next morning, while eating breakfast, Chu Xia observed Nanbai. Dark thoughts arose in her mind, and she reassured herself that she had to stay awake to avoid them. She quickly slurped down her soup and ran into her room. She told herself that she had to keep her distance from Nanbai because she couldn't betray her love for Jing Xing. But then, taking advantage of Nanbai being fast asleep, she quietly came to his side and covered him with a blanket. She intently looked at him, unconsciously moving in to kiss him. Just as she was about to touch his lips, she woke up and ran away. Nanbai grabbed her hand and pulled her into his arms. He asked why she had been avoiding him these past few days. Chu Xia lied and said she was busy, then turned and left. Nanbai smiled, knowing that no matter who he was, Chu Xia still loved him. His concealment made Chu Xia feel guilty, so she buried herself in work so she wouldn't have time to think about frivolous love affairs anymore. Unexpectedly, the more she tried to escape, the harder it was to forget. Even in her dreams, Nanbai was always present, possessing her. Just as she was smiling happily, she woke up with a start, realizing that she was beyond help. Just as she stepped out into the living room, she saw a text message from Nanbai with words of concern telling her to take vitamin C to replenish her health, and that he was going to the supermarket near her house and to call him if she needed anything. Chu Xia smiled happily. She turned on the TV and discovered that a fire had broken out in the Tian Hong residential area. Chu Xia panicked and quickly called Nanbai because he was going to the supermarket there, but the number was out of service, making her worried and rushed to find him. His sister, Ai Chi, also rushed to the scene after hearing the news. Chu Xia called him repeatedly, but couldn't get through. Despite the security team's opposition, she kept demanding to go inside to find her boyfriend. In desperation, she kept calling his name and loudly said the words, "I like you." Thinking that the person she loved was no longer there, Chu Xia kept expressing her feelings and promising all kinds of things, saying that as long as he was alive, she would follow all of his requests. Just as she was crying and complaining, she heard Nan Bai's voice from behind. The moment she saw the person she loved was still alive, Chu Xia didn't want to lie to herself anymore and rushed to hug him. The feeling of joy made her burst into tears. Nan Bai immediately reminded her of her confession just now. Chu Xia, for the first time, frankly admitted her feelings. Nan Bai seemed to have been waiting for these words for a long time. He asked if she had thought it through. Had she really let go of Jing Xing in her heart? Chu Xia said she had already lost him. She couldn't afford to lose him again. Hearing these sweet words from the person she loved the most, Nan Bai was extremely happy. Even so, he didn't forget to tease his lover, saying that if he knew a fire would help her open up like this, he would have risked creating some danger at home. Maybe he would have known about her feelings sooner. After the moment of admitting their feelings for each other, this is the moment that everyone has been waiting for. Finally, they openly expressed their true feelings, righteously being together. What will happen next after these sweet kisses, when the evil ones are standing from afar, staring at the two of them? Will the couple overcome everything when the bad guys use every means to control their lives? What is the ending of the rest of the story? Back home, Chu Xia, still afraid of losing Nan Bai, hugged him tightly, not letting go. It had been a long time since Nan Bai had felt someone worry about him so much. "Nan Bai, I'll always be by your side. I'll never leave you alone again." Tears streamed down Nan Bai's face as he thought about how far he had to travel to return to Chu Xia's side. They clung to each other, unaware that someone was secretly eavesdropping. Hui Jin hated anyone who was close to Chu Xia. First Jing Xing, and now Nan Bai could never be him. Hui Jin went over and banged on the door, intending to ruin Nan Bai's good time. Seeing Chu Xia about to open the door, Nan Bai stopped her. Hui Jin went crazy outside, wishing he could break down the door and barge in. Early the next morning, Nan Bai coaxed his little girlfriend to wake up. He held Chu Xia in his arms and personally brushed her teeth for her. Coming out to the living room, Chu Xia received a call from Hui Jin. He reported that there were quality issues with the batch of honey-dew jewelry sent to Garden Venue. Nan Bai pulled Chu Xia close, telling her to come back early. Arriving at the warehouse, Pei checked the quality, and there were slight differences. Chu Xia admitted her oversight and supervision and apologized for the trouble she caused Hui Jin. He didn't blame her, but willingly offered to overcome the difficulties with her. However, it was Hui Jin who was making things difficult for Chu Xia. He wanted to punish her for choosing to be with Nan Bai. Meanwhile, Nan Bai suspected that there was a problem with the honeydew. He called his assistant and asked him to send the invoice and quality inspection report for the batch of diamonds sold to Wan Mao. Nan Bai read the report, which stated that the diamonds met the standards. He wondered why the honeydew hadn't passed Garden Venue's quality control. Just then, Chu Xia was about to go outside, but the door was locked. She thought Hui Jin would be back soon. Little did she know that he was watching her through the security camera. Hui Jin even released mice into the warehouse, causing Chu Xia to panic. He wanted Chu Xia to know who would be there when she needed him most. But man proposes, God disposes, because neither Jing Xing nor Nan Bai had ever abandoned Chu Xia. He was like a brilliant ray of sunshine, shining into the cold warehouse. Chu Xia finally waited for her hero. Only Hui Jin was going crazy because he had lost to Nan Bai again. He called Chu Xia and asked if she was still importing diamonds from the place Nan Bai had recommended. She said that she was dating Nan Bai, so she entrusted that task to him. If a problem occurred, she and Nan Bai would take responsibility together. Hui Jin swallowed the bitterness in his heart, determined not to let the two of them have their way. Back home, Nan Bai cooked spaghetti for his girlfriend. Chu Xia ran into the room to prepare a surprise for him. She stealthily appeared from behind him and softly called his name. Nan Bai's eyes widened, admiring the little vixen in the seductive nightgown. Chu Xia got closer and closer, wanting him to become unable to resist. Unexpectedly, Nan Bai burst out laughing, thinking she was performing a routine. Chu Xia was angry because she had to summon all her courage to do this. She was afraid that he, having grown up in the open-minded atmosphere of America, would find her boring. Chu Xia, you've always been the most special person to me, so you don't need to change. Just be yourself. Chu Xia got rid of a worry and happily snuggled into Nan Bai's arms. The next day, Nambai questioned Chi about why she was mixing inferior diamonds into the honeydew. The foreign company supplying the diamonds was set up by him and Chi, so he was certain that she was up to something. Nambai affirmed that he would personally take back Wan Mao, so he asked her not to interfere and hurt Chu Xia. Back home, Nambai gazed at his sleeping girlfriend. She woke up and asked him why he was staring at her for so long without planning to do anything. Nambai didn't say anything, but silently stroked the little girl. Chu Xia sat up and rewarded him with a kiss after a long day. Early the next morning, Nambai took his girlfriend for a jog. He remembered when she had asked to stay with him, and, even wearing high heels, had managed to keep up with him. Chu Xia thought that their status was different now than before. Hearing her boyfriend say that he was out of energy, she rewarded him with a kiss. From afar, Chi's henchmen secretly took photos of them. She wanted to cover Nambai's face and then post the photos online, hiring more fake accounts to get the news trending. Before the product launch press conference, Pei reported that images of CEO who were spreading wildly online. Honeydew used the only love between her and Jing Xing as a model, so netizens cursed Chu Xia for changing her heart. They said that the previous story was just an advertising gimmick. Lewis's reputation was also affected because he had posted marketing materials for Honeydew. Chu Xia apologized for implicating Nambai, but she felt that the online community was right to scold her because she really had changed her heart. She snuggled into his arms to recharge. Nambai secretly vowed not to let Chu Xia get hurt. At the product launch press conference, Chu Xia hoped that reporters would ask questions related to Honeydew, but they wanted to confirm the rumors that CEO who had changed her heart and was still taking advantage of her deceased boyfriend to launch a new line of jewelry. Some of Lewis's fans stormed in, pressuring CEO who to cancel the contract with their idol. Nambai appeared in time to block 2 bottles of water that flew straight towards Chu Xia. He turned around, officially revealing himself as Lewis and also as the man in the photos spreading online. He further revealed that he was also the deceased Jing Xing. Dear friends, a year ago I was attacked overseas. During my comatose state, everyone rumored that I had died. When I returned to the country to reunite with my lover, I was treated like someone else. I have been operating under the identity of Lewis, continuing to help my girlfriend. Chu Xia feared that Nanbai's lies would surely be exposed. Nanbai was about to explain when Chi came to accuse him. Chu Xia apologized to her stepmother because Nanbai pretended to be Jing Xing for her sake. Chi questioned Nanbai privately, asking if he wasn't afraid that his enemies would discover him. Nanbai believed that Chu Xia had nothing to do with Hunua Cheng. Moreover, he knew that Chi was the one who leaked the photos online. She reminded Nanbai that she had saved him from death overseas. Returning to the press conference to pick up her handbag, Chu Xia picked up Nanbai's wallet. She was stunned to see that the photo that fell out was a memento between herself and Jing Xing. Just then, Nanbai walked over, and she asked him if he was Jing Xing. Hearing him say that he had his reasons, she questioned why he wouldn't acknowledge her. Jing Xing, you watch me long for you day after day, and blame myself for changing my heart. But you still wouldn't tell the truth? Don't you love me, or don't you trust me? Jing Xing couldn't bear to let her know the truth, so he flusteredly didn't know how to explain. Hui Jin came and grabbed Chu Xia, taking her away from Nanbai. Back at Hui Jin's house, Chu Xia questioned why Chi was covering for Nanbai. Hui Jin thought that people would change. In the year that Jing Xing disappeared without a trace, he had concealed many secrets. He turned on some relaxing rock music, but Chu Xia didn't like it. She asked to leave early because she had a lot of things to deal with. Hui Jin secretly determined that one day Chu Xia would belong to him. Meeting with her stepmother, Chu Xia said that she knew Nanbai was Jing Xing. She only wondered why Chi had to fake his identity. Chi said that Jing Xing himself didn't allow her to reveal his identity. They were childhood sweethearts who grew up together. Chu Xia remembered seeing a similar photo in Jing Xing's old photo album. She wondered what exactly had happened to him. In front of the company building, a crowd of reporters waited to interview Chu Xia about when she would marry Jing Xing. Chu Xia leaned back, and Jing Xing caught her just in time. He promised that when they held the wedding, they would definitely announce it to the press. The whole office congratulated CEO Hu on both finding her lover and solving the problem for Honeydew. Chu Xia forced a smile and questioned Jing Xing about what he really wanted to do. He knew he was wrong to hide things from Chu Xia, but he wouldn't leave her. He asked Chu Xia to trust him and said that when the time was right, he would definitely explain everything clearly. Chu Xia thought that she had given Jing Xing a chance, but he didn't want it. Waiting for Chu Xia below the company building, Hui Jin said that it was his birthday today, and he hoped that she would put aside work temporarily to spend some time with him. Back at Hui Jin's house, Hui Jin and Chu Xia made pottery together. He wished that he could celebrate his birthday with her every year. Returning to Wanmao, Chu Xia heard Jing Xing say that Louis had been invited to participate in a dating reality show. He thought that it was a good opportunity to promote Honeydew, but the organizers requested that he and Chu Xia both be special guests. Arriving at the studio, the Honeydew couple was greatly admired. Chu Xia suddenly had a stomach ache, so she asked permission to go to the restroom. She came outside and saw the organizers saying that they couldn't find Jing Xing. It turned out that he had run off to buy red sugar water for her. He gently put a bandage on Chu Xia's heel and replaced her high heels with sneakers. The staff of the organizers quickly recorded this moment that was even sweeter than Honeydew. On the way home, Chu Xia didn't like Jing Xing following her all the time. She affirmed that she still hadn't forgiven him. Returning to the apartment building, Chu Xia was blocked by a pervert. Before he could touch her, Jing Xing punched him, knocking him flat on the ground. Seeing that they had accomplices, he pulled her to hide in a secluded corner. Chu Xia grabbed tightly onto his shirt in fear. Back home, Chu Xia gently applied medicine to Jing Xing's injuries. He couldn't resist and forced a kiss on her. He knew it would be difficult to keep her there, so he pretended to be in pain. Chu Xia couldn't bear it, so she went back to her old bedroom to sleep. In the middle of the night, Chu Xia tiptoed out to eat some bread. Jing Xing caught her and pinned her against the refrigerator. Chu Xia, I'm hungry. Jing Xing threw the bread down to taste the sweetness on Chu Xia's lips. Her weak resistance once again surrendered to him. Early the next morning, Jing Xing held his girlfriend tightly. She reminded him not to naively think that she had forgiven him. Chu Xia, did you just sleep with me and then turn your back on me? Chu Xia was very happy that Jing Xing was still alive, but he still wouldn't tell her the truth. Hearing that Chu Xia was going to Hushi to hear a report, Jing Xing tagged along. At Hushi, shareholders demanded the forced acquisition of Wanmao shares in Jing Xing's hands. If Chu Xia couldn't do it, she wouldn't be worthy of being the Hushi heir in the future. Jing Xing suddenly walked in and voluntarily transferred all of his shares to Chu Xia. Outside Wanmao, Jing Xing heard that the two perverts from last night were sent by Ni Qi. It turned out that he had long suspected Ni Qi because the information on the will clearly stated the time when Hunua Chung took Chu Xia back was after Jing Xing was attacked overseas. So, he wasn't the one who framed Jing Xing. Chu Xia walked over and asked Jing Xing why he transferred the shares. He said that he was penniless and only hoped to be supported by Madame Hu. Chu Xia, I'm sorry that I couldn't acknowledge you sooner. Every time I see you sad, I just hate that I can't rush over and hug you. One time you dropped the necklace, and that was the closest I could get to you. Jing Xing, I don't know what you're hiding, but I'm willing to trust you. Jing Xing gave his little girlfriend a tender kiss. He had finally returned to being himself, the Jing Xing that Chu Xia had always loved. On their happy bed, Chu Xia gazed at the familiar face. She blamed herself for being stupid and not recognizing a small mole. Jing Xing woke up, wanting time to stop in this loving moment. On the other side, Hui Jin punished the useless men. It turned out that he had colluded with Ni Qi to separate Chu Xia and Jing Xing. The attack overseas was also arranged by them. However, Hui Jin didn't allow Ni Qi to touch Chu Xia. In the middle of the night, Jing Xing received a message and rushed to see Ni Qi. She was sitting on the floor with blood flowing from the back of her head. Jing Xing was terrified and hurriedly took Ni Qi to the hospital. Meanwhile, Chu Xia woke up and didn't see Jing Xing. Just then, he called to report that there was a problem at his company in the United States. Chu Xia sighed because Jing Xing was indeed hiding a lot of secrets. The next day, Hui Jin told Chu Xia that the police were searching for Jing Xing. They discovered a large amount of Ni Qi's blood in the bar, suspecting that she had been murdered. Police extracted security camera footage near the bar, seeing Jing Xing carrying Ni Qi into a car. Chu Xia didn't believe it, so she asked someone to check Jing Xing's overseas departure information. She was stunned because he had lied to her again. Just then, Pei Pei reported that a company in the United States was secretly buying Hushi shares and was even about to become the largest shareholder. Going to see Hui Jin, Chu Xia expressed her intention to buy back the Hushi shares in Garden Venue's hands because that was the only way for her to continue running Hushi. Hui Jin wanted to help Chu Xia, but Garden Venue didn't belong to him alone. Unless we get married. Back home, Chu Xia heard her father say that the person behind the foreign company buying Hushur shares was Jing Xing and Ai Chi. He also investigated and found that the failure of the Diamond Project bid last time was also caused by them. He hated himself for harboring a snake and sleeping with Ai Chi. Seeing her father have a heart attack, Chu Xia promised to keep Hushur at all costs. Returning to Jing Xing's apartment, Chu Xia hugged his favorite dog, Shui Jing, tightly. She wanted to believe him, but the truth and the responsibilities before her didn't give Chu Xia that opportunity. She called and agreed to marry Hui Jin. Going to meet Chu Xia, Hui Jin volunteered to wait for her to sort out her feelings. He thought the best way to say goodbye to the past was to change himself in the present. He offered to take her to get her hair done, to go shopping to help change her mood. Chu Xia thanked Hui Jin, but felt that this style didn't suit her. Seeing him approach, she quickly avoided him. Hui Jin knew that reporters were always stationed in front of the Hu family, so he asked Chu Xia to temporarily move into his house to recuperate. Back home, Hui Jin invited Chu Xia out to eat. She tried to swallow the food because he had put a lot of mustard in all the dishes. In the middle of the night, Chu Xia was hungry, so she ordered some baked goods. Unexpectedly, Hui Jin was quick to take them and throw away those unhealthy foods. Chu Xia was a little scared because Hui Jin was a little different. She remembered the taste of the baked goods on Jing Xing's lips, wondering where he was at this hour. The next morning, Chu Xia still couldn't eat the food cooked by Hui Jin. She heard the doorbell, surprised when Jing Xing returned. He pinned her against the wall, incessantly pouring out all of his longing onto Chu Xia's lips. She used a hard slap to help him calm down. Chu Xia, I won't let you marry that Hui Jin. I didn't kill an Ai Chi, and I certainly didn't collude with her to buy up Hushur shares. Chu Xia, please trust me. Jing Xing's ragged breathing caused Chu Xia to also reveal how much she missed him. Just then, Hui Jin came home but couldn't open the electronic door. He was just getting his keys when Chu Xia flung the door wide open. Hui Jin rushed into the house to check, questioning why she had locked the door. Chu Xia thought that a lot had happened recently, so she needed to feel safe. She took Hui Jin's hand, wanting to change clothes so that they could go see a movie. Waiting for Chu Xia in a room, Jing Xing picked her up and put her on the bed. He finished the kiss they had started earlier and told her not to trust Hui Jin. Instead of a romantic movie, Hui Jin made Chu Xia watch a horror movie. He said that he had many other horror movies that he would watch with her slowly. Chu Xia said she was tired, so she asked permission to go back to her room to rest. On the other side, Jing Xing investigated and uncovered the story behind Hui Jin. It turned out that Chu Xia's older sister, named Ru Yu, was Hui Jin's college girlfriend. After Ru Yu died in an accident overseas, Hui Jin even took some time off from school. The detective also investigated his entry and exit records, discovering that Hui Jin went to the United States at the same time that Jing Xing was attacked. The next day, Chu Xia accidentally pressed the TV remote while putting her phone on the table. On the screen was a video of a girl who looked exactly like Chu Xia making pottery and wishing Hui Jin a happy birthday. Chu Xia remembered Hui Jin saying that he often made pottery on each of his birthdays. The girl in the video also liked horror movies and had a mole behind her shoulder, exactly like the birthmark after she was drunk at Hui Jin's house. He suddenly appeared, revealing that he himself had tattooed a red mole on Chu Xia's shoulder. She hurriedly tried to run away, but he quickly locked her up. Hui Jin blamed Chu Xia for being too different from her older sister. She didn't like watching horror movies, and she didn't know how to make pottery either. He used to be afraid that Chu Xia could never become Ru Yu until she walked out wearing Ru Yu's old dress. He put a lot of effort into transforming Chu Xia, and she finally resembled Ru Yu by about 80%. But Ru Yu had a burn mark on her hand from cooking for Hui Jin. At the wedding ceremony, Hui Jin happily led the bride to the altar. He had worked so hard for so many years, and he had finally married a copy of Ru Yu. Chu Xia, Jing Xing's voice rang out. He walked onto the altar to take his bride away. Hui Jin told someone to call the police, but Ai Chi suddenly appeared. She remembered that day when she investigated and found that Hui Jin had set the shopping mall on fire. She warned him not to touch Jing Xing. During the struggle, Hui Jin pushed Ai Chi, causing her to hit her head on the edge of the table. The table fell on her leg. He frantically took the phone from Ai Chi's pocket and sent a text message arranging a meeting with Jing Xing. He also carefully wiped off his fingerprints to frame Jing Xing, hearing Hui Jin trying to argue. Jing Xing said that he had enough evidence to accuse Hui Jin of trying to murder him a year ago. Seeing Jing Xing about to step forward, Chu Xia said that Hui Jin had strapped explosives to her body. Hui Jin held the detonator, demanding that Jing Xing release him and let him go to Chu Xia. Jing Xing reminded Hui Jin that Chu Xia was Ru Yu's younger sister. Hui Jin, agitated, thought that he was about to bring her back. Jing Xing begged Hui Jin to target him and release the innocent Chu Xia. Hui Jin told Jing Xing that if he wanted to save Chu Xia, he had to stab himself with a knife. Chu Xia begged Jing Xing not to do that, not to leave her again. Chu Xia, close your eyes, it will be over quickly. Jing Xing raised a knife, suddenly throwing it to knock down the floral wreath above. He hurriedly caught Chu Xia and quickly snatched the detonator. Hui Jin seized the opportunity to stab the opponent straight in the stomach with a knife. Jing Xing struggled to subdue Hui Jin and then knocked him unconscious. Raindrops began to fall. Jing Xing dragged his feet towards his lover. Seeing Chu Xia, her face pale with fear, he put his coat over her. He only managed to wipe away a tear rolling down Chu Xia's cheek before collapsing on her shoulder. A week later, Jing Xing successfully underwent surgery. Ai Chi heard that Hui Jin had confessed everything to the police. Chu Xia knew that he had become a lovelorn madman because he loved her sister too much. Ai Chi apologized to Chu Xia for everything that had happened before. She admitted defeat in the face of Jing Xing's love for Chu Xia. Waiting for Ai Chi outside the hospital room, Mr. Hu sent her a divorce agreement. He knew that Ai Chi had business talent, but he couldn't entrust Hu Shi to her. He had already bought a hotel in England to give to Ai Chi. Finally, Jing Xing woke up. Chu Xia happily snuggled in his arms, but Jing Xing didn't remember who she was. Jing Xing, I'm Chu Xia. You're Jing Xing, and also Nan Bai. At your funeral, I even kissed you. Jing Xing made Chu Xia reenact the kissing scene and then didn't let her escape from his lips. Chu Xia, I was afraid you would be in danger, so I didn't dare admit that I was Jing Xing. From now on, I won't lie to you anymore. The Honeydew product launch press conference was held again in grand style. Because her father wanted to retire, Chu Xia was busy with the work of inheriting Hu Shi. Jing Xing thought, we're already legally married, so why doesn't Chu Xia focus on giving birth to a chubby little boy to be the heir for his grandfather? Arranging to meet Chu Xia in the garden, Jing Xing had prepared a surprise for her. The photo of her sneaking a bite of the grilled meat from his mouth. It was also the dandelion that he kept blowing but wouldn't fly away, the mask from the masquerade ball. Chu Xia struggled to open the last box. Jing Xing walked over, giving her the key to unlock their future. He held the diamond ring, hoping she would listen to her heart. Chu Xia, during that year overseas, I was really afraid of losing you. When I came back to the country and saw that you still remembered me, I was so happy. From now on, I want to wake up every day with you by my side. Every meal, every season, every second, every minute to have you. I want to spend this lifetime with you. This diamond ring represents my only love, which belongs to you. Chu Xia, please marry me again. Jing Xing, I do. Jing Xing burst into tears, placing a kiss on the hand that he wanted to hold for the rest of his life. After so much hardship, Jing Xing had crossed the boundary between life and death to return and marry Chu Xia again. May their love last forever, and their happiness endure until their hair is white and their teeth are gone.